Communities are warned about scams in the country's land rights restitution program. Scammers in litigation, public service and in beneficiary communities are preying on unsuspecting citizens. The government program aims to provide land restoration rights in respect of persons or communities which were dispossessed during apartheid. Now, for what society can do to avoid being scammed, I am joined by Sifiso Mnguni, who's the head of grower development at the South African Farmers Development Association. Mr. Mnguni, good to have you on the program this afternoon. Firstly, give us a general overview of exactly the restitution land rights program. What is it and what are its objectives here?
Good evening to you and good evening to the viewers. The restitution program in South Africa is one program through which government is trying by all means to address the ills of the past with regards to land dispossessions, for all the communities and individuals that were moved in their places, due to or to fulfill the obligations of the apartheid era government objectives. Now, the government is trying by all means to set up programs and support those programs with money, trying to buy land from the landowners who are current landowners who are regarded as the rightful landowners now, and back to its historically disadvantaged rightful owners. But the program is open to a number of ills that people have seen opportunities. In fact, when I put together this article talking about land reform being seen as degenerating into nothing but a scam, it is informed by the experience of myself and the experience that I'm going through working for my organization in terms of supporting where we can support government to make sure that the objectives of the Restitution Act are fulfilled.
Now, you spoke about the presence of scammers here. Let's speak about how the presence of these scammers have indeed affected the implementation of land restitution and its program here in the country.
Okay, first I must say that I chose to use the word scams because that's what it is degenerating to. But the program was not meant to be a scam. Maybe I need to say that the government had all the good intentions to get the program to assist where it needs to assist. But opportunists who happen to be involved in the various sectors or players within the program have seen opportunities to try and benefit unduly out of it. If I were to unpack that, you have players in the various sectors. One of them would be the landowner, the current landowner, who some of them are genuine in trying to assist government and meet halfway with government, make the land available and receive whatever compensation they have to receive. But also you have other players who would pretend as if they are selling the land, but in actual fact, it's not of a willing buyer, a willing buyer. For some of them, there is no will whatsoever to sell the land. The will that is there is to try and work in that pretext, but at the end up with both the land and the money. The government money is quite lucrative when it comes to the amount that we have seen of people buying the land. We have seen land, being bought for communities for restitution purposes, to the extent of close to $1 billion in some of the communities. We see land being sold or being bought every day, nothing around, say over 100 million. So we're talking a lot of money. We're talking a lot of millions for land. There are processes that are used, that are prescribed of determining the prices and all of that. But what we've seen with restitution as it happens, first, you have the process first of coming as a claim. Then the claim is processed, it is researched, and then experts are being brought into the process in terms of the value general to evaluate the cost of the land. Often when the land, if not always the case, when the valuer has determined the price of the land, then the contestation will start from the lawyers representing the seller of the land. We've seen land being valuated at 60 million, for example, but at the end of the day, the contestation is happening beyond 100 million. And you wonder, what changes the price? Is the valuer general so incompetent that he can value the land at 60 million, but in the end, the land is settled at 100 million or over 100 million? So obviously there is a problem there. You can't, say the valuer of the land is incompetent to that extent, but it doesn't only end up with that. We don't know what the interest of the people involved in arguing that price. But what surprises more, to make us, some of us, to start to believe it as some form of a scam, the people who are supposed to be protecting and negotiating the deal for the communities, they have displayed, some of them, the most strange behaviors that you can ever think of. We've had attorneys appointed by government to represent communities arguing what you would consider as an argument being raised for the benefit of the outgoing landowner, as opposed to the argument that is raised for the benefit of the community. Often those lawyers, they don't even attempt to argue the amount at which the land is sold. All they would do is to try and convince the community to put their signature to accept the deal as it is. We've had lawyers saying half a loaf is better than no bread. Just take what is on the table. Not only with those attorneys, but also the government officials, some of them that appoint those lawyers. They appoint them for the sole purpose of representing the communities and argue the best case for the benefit of the communities. But we listen to a government official that is involved in the transaction, you listen to the lawyer that is supposed to be representing the community, and you listen to the lawyers that are representing the current landowner who's supposed to be outgoing and taking the money for the land. They are all talking the same language, the same position, as if they are all representing the outgoing farmer.
Right.
But it doesn't end there. In the article, I did show or indicate that that network, of scammers, as I call them, is not complete until they get a community member who is very influential. I think in the network that he plays the role of an influencer who would go to the community and try to talk as a voice of the community and say, this is the best deal you could get. If we don't take this deal, we will lose everything. It's better to get, half a loaf of bread rather than not getting anything. And I've always maintained that when it comes to land, it is a rights issue. It's something of sentimental value. There is no such thing as half a loaf is better than what in land reform. It's either you dispossessed of the land, you claimed it, and you got it back, or you were dispossessed of the land, you claimed it, and you did not get it back, or you have not got it back as yet, which means the only thing you can do is to continue to fight for you to get the land back. No half a loaf, nothing.
Could you explain the role of willing sellers and the challenges they pose in the restoration as well as the productive land here?
Yeah, maybe again I need to explain that. Again, in the article I did clear out the different options that are put on the table when a restitution claim is processed. After having been investigated and it has been established that the community is duly qualified to have their land back, there are three options that they get given. One of them is to get the land restored to them. Okay, if there's an agreement and the government is willing to buy, they'll just buy the land and restore it to the community. But the second option is to get the alternative land for those that the land cannot be restored for various reasons. Some of the reasons would be attributed to the development, maybe a city or a town or a stadium has been built on the land, so you can't dismantle that just to get the land. But in those cases, communities would be persuaded to take an option of an alternative land where they can go. But the third option is one of taking a financial benefit or a financial pay for the value of the land that they were dispossessed of. So communities have to choose whether you want your land back or you want the money equivalent to the value of the land. And then if the land is not available, then you get alternative land if you insist on the land. But with regards to the two options, the one of alternative land, there's no issue because it's just a state land. It's not even an outgoing farmer's land. State would give you the land and they will take the land. And with regards to the second option of taking financial compensation, there are no issues because that decision is made by the community. So they do take money because they so wish to take the money. But where we have problems in restitution is with regards to productive land. Because when farmers say they are selling the land to government for purposes of restoring it to its rightful owners, not all of them are true in saying that. Some of them are saying it pretending to be selling the land,
right,
pretending to be willing sellers when there's absolutely no will to sell. And that you are able to see when during the process of transferring the land, there's often a draft agreement that the outgoing farmer would task their lawyer to go and negotiate, with various players to say, allow me to take government money, let government buy my land, but also get the community to sign in an agreement, separate agreement that says once the land is bought and I've taken the money, they won't take the land away from me, but they will allow me to work in various post-settlement models. One of them is a lease agreement, which is the most popular one.
Right.
They want what is called a lease back. So government buy the land from me, I take the money, put in the pocket, but get the community to sign that I must continue to work the land. So why do you sell the land if you still want to remain in the land and continue to profit from it? It is a scam. But for that scam to work, you need to have all of these players supporting you. One of the biggest problems we have.
You seem to have lost audio there with...
Sorry, that was a phone call coming. One of the biggest problems we have in restitution is when we are assisting communities to craft what we call post-settlement business models with them. There always another counter proposal, whether in the form of a joint venture from the outgoing farmer or in the form of a leaseback, which its intent is to make sure that they will allow the community to, the government to buy the land, but they will have to sign papers that says there's either a joint venture which will be fully controlled by this outgoing farmer, or there's going to be a leaseback. So the community will continue to stay at home without the land, but all the money will be with the outgoing landowner with the land. So it is a scam when somebody, on one hand, he has the land, on the other hand, he has the money. And the community of claimants who were hoping that they will get the land back are still sitting at home. The deal is concluded, court has settled the matter, but there's still no land. And the outgoing farmer knew that from the beginning. All other players knew that from the beginning what the outgoing farmers wanted. They did not want, the outgoing landowners did not want to sell the land. All they wanted was government money because it's a lot of money, and it is easy money to get once you get the community to sign.
Mr. Mnguni, as we wrap up our conversation, and very shortly, if you may, how can the government and relevant authorities ensure that the land restitution process is indeed fair, transparent, and also protects the rights of the dispossessed here?
Yep. I think government has been revisiting the Restitution Act a couple of times, improving it. In fact, with all other pieces of legislation in the country, there's still room, in my view, in the Restitution of Land Rights Act, of trying to insert a clause for this purpose. It wouldn't even be too many clauses. Just one clause in the Act that would suggest that in the normal business terms, of restraint of business, once you sell the land, then you should be restricted from putting any further interest on the land that you have sold. We can even put some time limit to it. We can say for the next 10 years or next 20 years, whatever period you want to put. But that is to ensure that the outgoing landowner, he doesn't have an option, even of negotiating, that he remains on the land or on the farm. You sell the land, you take the money, you walk away. If you want to come back, you come back maybe after 10 years or 20 years or so.
Right.
And that is ensuring that the community gets their the dignity restored on the land. And even time to think about what you want to do with the land. Often communities would have started working, they have plans about their land, and only to be surprised with this agreement now to sign, which becomes to sign those conditions or those counter proposals to go with the whole pack, to the court for settlement of the claim. Often you don't get a settlement.
Right.
Those outgoing farmers will start to argue that no, the land was taken before 1913 and it doesn't qualify, and all sorts of excuses just because the community did not want, to sign this arrangement that will ensure that they keep the land with them.
That was Sifiso Mnguni. He's the head of growth development at the South African Farmers Development Association, giving us an overview of the land restitution and land rights program in the country.